Hello there. In this After Effects tutorial, we are going to recreate an animation like the ones we can see in the Capitan Jack reels. If I see that you like this tutorial, we can do the second part. Here I give you an example of what we are going to learn. The first thing I am going to do is a new composition that is going to be called bars. 1080 by 1920, vertical format at 30 frames and 10 seconds to spare. Now with a right click I am going to put a solid and this is going to be called Element 3D. We leave everything as it is and on this layer we are going to put the Copilot video effect, which is a paid plugin and is called Element. And so we are going to practice and learn new things, but without leaving After Effects.
By the way, if you like documentary-style editing, my course is now available. Although it's not just an editing course in which I tell you how to animate a sequence in After Effects and that's it, but I show you the whole procedure I followed to create this animation. From the initial idea to the final render, going through each and every phase of the creative process. I leave the link in the description in case you want to take a look at it.
We are going to click on Scene Setup. And here, in this option, we can put all these figures. For this tutorial I am going to put a cube and I am not going to spend much time explaining how the plugin works because I could spend 20 days. I'm just going to explain some basic things that we are going to need to know to make the animation that we've seen in the example. Here, in this camera icon, we can rotate the view. In this one here we can move the cube on any of its axes. In this other icon we can rotate it. If we press the Shift key, we can rotate it 45 degrees at a time. And in this other icon, we can extrude the cube also on any of its axes, on the X, Z or Y axis. And if we move the cursor over here, when that yellow square appears, we can scale it, make it smaller or bigger, but proportionally. Although all this that I just explained can also be done from the transform options. Well, another thing that we can do to this cube is, for example, round the vertices a little more and here we can soften them, smooth them or make them harder. It also depends on each person's taste. I'm going to leave it as it comes by default. OK. Now, with the box model selected, here in size X, Y and Z in the Greek Y, I'm going to put a value of 5 and here we practically have the bar that we are going to use in the animation. What happens is that we have to make some adjustments. We come here to presets and in the materials, in Physical 22, well here we have all these textures. I'm going to put this Chrome 1, but you can try it out to see which one you like. OK. And those reflections that you see can also be changed here in the environment. We deploy here in this folder and here we have all these presets. These are HDRI images that reflect on the texture. Look here, how cool! You can see that it looks like a glass building. Well, the same, you can try it out to see which one you like. For this tutorial I'm going to put this one called Basic to K, which are some abstract and diffuse reflections, and the truth is that I really like how it looks. Now we deploy here in box model and select the texture. We move down here and we are going to set the reflectivity to red. Well, you can set it to whatever color you like. I'm going to leave it red. And for now we are not going to do anything else. Later on, if it's necessary to make any adjustments, we'll go to the plugin and do it, but for now we'll click OK. And now with right click we are going to create a camera. This is going to be 35mm and 2 nodes, and again right click, New, Null Object, we'll convert it to 3D. If the cube icon appears, F4 and we'll relate this camera to it. What happens is that we are not going to move this figure with this null, but we are going to do the following. We select the plugin layer, deploy it here in group 1, and in this option we are going to click Create. And here it has created a new null, with which we'll have total control over this red bar. By the way, I'm going to paint these two layers the same color. If we deploy the rotation, notice, we have total control over this figure, in the rotation and in the position. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is set the orientation here to 350 degrees and activate to views to see it better, so that it stays a little diagonal. And I'm going to also mark a keyframe in rotation and Greek, and here I'm going to set a value of 200. Now with the P key, we deploy the position and also mark a keyframe being here at the beginning of the timeline, press E twice and we are left with only these two keyframes. And now what I want to do is move the figure closer to the camera. More or less there, but as we always do, we are going to put the exact values. Here in Z, we are going to put -460, and here in Greek Y. Now I am going to move it down until it is no longer seen here in the composition. I am going to put a value of 2400. As I say other times, I put these values because after having been doing some tests, they are the ones that have worked best for me. Okay. So now from the second 0 we are going to move to the third 20, and here the Greek y-axis, we are going to move it up. We put a value of 1310 pixels, and we are going to put the rotation at 0. Okay. With F9 I smooth all the keyframes, and here in the graphic editor I am going to give it this shape. The curve of this handle to the left all the way, and these two here too, so that it starts very fast and little by little it loses speed. We are going to do a preview to see how it looks. Okay, so it looks great there. Look at the reflections there, how cool they look. The next thing I'm going to do is with the text tool, so here I'm going to write like, just like in the example. With Ctrl-Alt and the Home key, we center the anchor point, and with Ctrl-Home we center the text in view. If we want we can scale it a little, although later we can do this within the plugin. Well, and I'm going to put this text here in the cyan color group. And I'm going to hide the layer. I'm going back to the plugin layer. And it's important to do the following. Here in custom layers, we unfold text and masks, and in layer 1 we are going to choose the text, the one that says like. Now we can't see anything because we have to go to scene setup and hit extrude. There we have it. What happens is right in the center of the figure. Well, I'm going to activate the left view to see it better. With the text selected and this tool that we saw before, we are going to move it to the right. What I want is for it to intersect a little bit with this shape. so that it doesn't stay too far inside or too far outside so that you can't see this space here, so that it stays more or less around there, making a little bit of intersection. I think it's perfect there. Okay. Now we can rotate this text with this tool as we saw before, or here in the transform options, we are going to set the orientation to 90 degrees. Okay, and we are going to move it up a little bit. It seems to be very big. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller with this tool. I'm going to stand here, and when that yellow square appears, I'll scale it a little bit. I think it's perfect there. We'll click OK again and we'll do a preview to see how it looks. Okay, it looks perfect there. Another thing we can do to improve this edge that you see here, notice that it looks like it's jagged. So we select the plugin layer. And here in output, where it says super sampling, we are going to change it from 0 to 8 and notice that it now looks perfect. And if we want, we can also activate this box for improved multisampling. Okay, it looks great there. What else? Here in render settings we can also activate the occlusion environment. This is so that you can see a little bit of shadows between the letters and this red bar. And if you want the text to look even more integrated, you can change to ray traced and notice that it looks much more integrated there. And in these options here, you can lower the opacity, soften the shadow a little bit. You can keep touching it until you find a result that you like. I'm going to leave it as it was. I like it there. Later on we are also going to activate the motion blur. For now we are going to leave it deactivated because it consumes a lot of computer resources and this starts to go very slow. But let's not forget it. Now we can animate this null. P key and we go here. In the second 2 we mark a keyframe, the position, and from 2 we go to 510. Around there. And here we are going to put in XWell, a value of 1100 so that this bar is no longer visible in the composition. There it is. We soften these two keyframes with F9 and we give a 60% influence to the 60 and 60 handles, and we are going to do a preview to see how it looks. Well, it looks perfect there. The next thing we are going to do is here, in this part, where the next bar should already be appearing. Well, we are going to select these two layers and with Ctrl we duplicate them, we are going to put them below and we are also going to change their color to differentiate them. What happens with this null? We no longer have control over this new bar that we have duplicated. Note that only the null moves there. What is happening is that this null is still the one that controls the two bars. So we are going to do the following here. On this null, right-click and we are going to change the name. I am going to delete this to here, and where it says 70 I am going to put 71. Now, in this layer that we have duplicated from the bar, press E twice and we are going to display the expressions. If we select this frame here that is blue and we click on the inverted comma, we can see it in full screen. And here we have put 71 on this null. Well, here we have to do the same. Where it says 70 we are going to put 71, with Ctrl+C we copy it and we have to paste it to all of these. If someone knows an easier and faster way to do this and wants to leave it in the comments, perfect. I actually did it like this and it worked. Well, here where it says 70 we are going to put 71, Ctrl+V, and here the same, Ctrl+V, and we are going to do it with all of them. Ctrl+V here too. Same here. And in the last 171 too. Now again with the inverted comma. Now we can see the whole interface again. And now in this null with the U key we deploy the keyframes and delete them. We are going to check that it works well. Okay, perfect. Look, now this bar obeys this null. We deploy the keyframes of this null and we are going to put ourselves right here at the end. And if the position in X is 1100, then we are going to put 1100 for this null so that it stays right there in the center. We are also going to mark another one in Greek Y rotation and another one in position. Okay. Now here at 320 we are going to modify the rotation and the position. Here we are going to put -200. And we are going to move it down as well. Until you see it here on the work table, we set a value of 2380. We select all of them and smooth them with F9. And we are going to give the curve this shape, so that it starts very fast and gradually loses speed. And we are going to do a preview to see how it looks. Okay, this looks great. To make the other bar we have to do the same thing. We select these two layers, Ctrl+D, duplicate them, put them below and change the color. For example green. But before doing this null, we are going to duplicate this one right here in this part. Ctrl+D, U key, and we'll delete these and mark a new one. Here at second 4 we mark one in position and here at 710 is where the animation will end. We relate the previous null to the new one and now in X, we are going to move it and we are going to put a value of 1700 in X here. We select both, F9 and with right click we are going to give a 60% influence to the handles, just like the previous one. Okay. Now, here, in this part the next block should already be appearing. So, just like we did before, right-click on this null and we are going to change its name. We delete this to that it has here and instead of 71 I am going to put 72. Now in this layer, press E twice and with the inverted comma we put it in full screen. And here we are going to change the 71 to the 72. Well, as I said before, if anyone knows an easier and faster way to do this, I would really appreciate it if you would leave it in the comments. Okay, now we have them all. In this null with the B key, we display the keyframes and delete them. And here, in this last keyframe, if the value is 1700, then we are going to put 1700 on this null on the x-axis as well, so that it stays perfectly centered. OK. And we mark a keyframe in position and another in rotation. From 710 we are going to come to 510 just below this one. And here the same as before. We are going to move the figure down until it's not visible in the composition. We'll put a value of 2380 and the rotation we'll put -200. We'll smooth these keyframes with F9 and give the curve this shape, so that it starts very fast and little by little it loses speed. And now, with the 3 bars already placed, we are going to do a preview to see how it looks. Well, this looks special now, so that the word like isn't visible on all the bars. We are going to do the following. This is very easy. You'll see. I'm going to leave these Illustrator files in the description so you can download them for free and do the tutorial with me. Now, with the direct selection tool, which is this white arrow, we are going to select this hand icon by clicking with Ctrl+C. Copy it and go back to After Effects, and here with right click we are going to put a solid. This one is going to be called hand-like. We leave everything as it is, and here with Ctrl+V, we paste the mask there. Look where it is. Okay, perfect. And we are going to put this one here in the second group, the orange one, and we'll hide the layer and see how easy it is. We come here to element 3D to the orange group, and here in custom layers, instead of putting the like, we are going to put like hand, and it will automatically change. Perfect. What happens is, we have to go into scene setup to position it correctly. But we are going to make this very easy. With this tool that we've already seen before and the shift key pressed, we are going to rotate it 90 degrees. And with this one we are going to make it a little bit smaller. Around there more or less. If we want, we can increase the extrusion a little bit. Okay. And I'm also going to move it up a little bit. It's perfect there. We click OK, and there we have it. Like, and then the hand. Now in this last one we are going to do the same. We come here to Illustrator. I'm going to put my logo with the direct selection tool. We select the logo, Ctrl+C. And we come back to After Effects and again right click. Solid, and this is going to be called channel logo. With Ctrl+V we paste the mask there. We are going to put it here in the green group. And we hide the layer. And again we come to element 3D, and in custom layers, we are going to change the layer that was like for the channel logo. There it is. What happens is that I have to make it smaller. We go to scene setup, and I'm going to leave it vertically, which I like how it looks. What happens, as I said, I'm going to scale it a little so it's not so big. Okay. It's perfect there. I like it there. It's still a little big, but okay. And now, before I forget, I'm going to activate motion blur for all the bars. I'm going to select this one first, the one in the cyan group. I come here to render settings, and in motion blur I'm going to change comp settings to on. And there we can see that it blurs. If you want the blur to be more noticeable, you can increase this value. I'm going to leave it as it is by default. We also have to do this with all the bars. Now we select this one. We come to render settings and the motion blur, we put it on. There it is. Perfect. We just have to do it with this last one. We select the element 3D layer, render settings and the motion blur, we put it on. We are going to do a preview to see how it looks. Well, this looks spectacular. To give a little more light to this scene, we are going to create a couple of lights. Right-click, New Light. And this one is going to be a point type with an intensity of 100. And the cast shadows, well, we leave it deactivated or activated as you wish. I'm going to leave it disabled. I'm going to activate two views to see it better. We are going to put this light more or less around there. But as we always do, we are going to put the exact values. We are going to display the position and the value in X we are not going to touch. Here in Greek Y we are going to put 100, and in Z we are going to put a value of -755. Again, right-click, New, Light, and this one is going to be ambient type and the intensity is set to 50. We click OK and look. The scene is much brighter there. Okay, come on, we are doing well. Now, from the composition bars, we are going to create another new one, and this one is going to be called Effects Bars. And this one of bars with Ctrl+D we duplicate it. This one is going to be called Outline Bars. We are going to put it above this one. If we want, with right-click we can put a background. This one is going to be called Background. The color doesn't matter because we are going to put a gradient. We'll go under it and here in the effects and we are going to put the one called Gradient Ramp. There. The white color we are going to put a pretty dark red. Well, this is also up to each person's taste. Now what we are going to do is what we saw in the animation of the example, which shows white lines around these bars. And we are going to do it in the following way. We are going to go here to Bars Outlines and we are going to start with this layer. We select it and go to Scene Setup. Here we are going to deactivate the text and the texture. We are going to put this one that came by default, the white one. We click OK and now we are going to go to the next one. This one here, we come to Scene Setup. We deactivate the hand icon and the texture that came by default. We do the same here. In the last one, we select the scene setup layer. We deactivate the logo and the texture that came by default. Perfect. Now we can go to the effect bars, composition, and to this outline bars. We are going to add the effect called Find Edges. We put it here. We are going to activate the invert box. Perfect. The only thing left to do is put this composition in add mode. There it is. That looks great. What happens is that you see some white lines here, but well, we are going to put the curves effect on it to correct it. Over there. And here we are going to move this handle a little to the right, and there they disappear completely. We are going to put the quality on full to see it better. It looks perfect there. And if you want, so that these gradient lines don't look so hard and marked, what is known as banding, I always like to put the color depth at 16 bits per channel. And now, let's do a preview to see how the animation looks. Well, this looks special. We can still add some effects, such as a glow here to these white lines, but I'll leave that to everyone's creativity. If you get stuck at any step or there is something you don't understand, write to me in the comments and we'll fix it. And if you liked the tutorial, leave me a good like so I know. See you in the next video.